It's been a while since I've done an update on my series, and what better champ to continue it with than Gorr? Gorr, my favorite cosmic champ, honestly my favorite champ in the entire game at the moment. And I know, like some people have said, Gorr's not really that underrated. I don't really know why you're considering making a video on him. I think Gorr is absolutely ridiculous, like bare minimum top 7 cosmic in my opinion, and I don't see very much gameplay made on him at all, and if I ever ask people, they're not usually going to say top 7. I think this guy is absolutely ridiculous, and I'm going to go into a lot of why in this video and why I like him so much. So for starters, I'm going to just do my normal Gorr rotation, which is we're going to get 2 of each buff and then spam double medium into SP3 once I feel like I have enough debuffs, and I'm just going to throw it here because I can. And if this was Battlegrounds, they'd be dead. But since this isn't Battlegrounds, we throw a heavy attack, we get another special 3. I don't really know what the heck I was doing there, but here's another. If I can get a heavy attack, we can get another SP3. There it is. And another SP3. Will this kill? We'll see. I don't remember. I recorded this a long time ago. Down to 1% debuffs killed him. So that was 1 minute and 9 seconds. That's really not bad at all with no recoils. That's actually really good with no recoils. So here's rotation 2. And the reason I'm showing you multiple different rotations is because that's one of the things I really like about Gorr. There's so many different ways to play him. Kind of like CGR. There's so many different ways to play CGR that even though CGR feels a little limited because, okay, you have to finish your combos, you have to not dex sometimes. There's so many other rotations you can use with him to make it to where you can do those things. So this second rotation is my SP2 rotation. And the way this one works, we just want to get 1 of each debuff, and then we're going to drop an SP2, then get 20 debuffs so we can power gain to SP3. And the reason that this one is better, I mean not necessarily better, but it's a good option, is because once you come out of your SP3, after using your power gain, you're not going to be able to get another one. But what you can do is with your extra Furies, your damage over time debuffs are going to they're going to start hitting really hard. And that's always an advantage in case you want extra damage over time. Say there's a safeguard node or something, and then your debuffs are just hitting for so much damage. Like, his health is just melting away so quickly because of the damage over time, and there's just so many, one of those words, of them. And we're throwing the SP1 because that pauses our buffs, and it's a really helpful SP1. And again, everything in Gorr, every ability Gorr has fits so well with his kit because the SP1 pauses the buffs. That's really important. The SP2 can give you a Fury that can be really important for debuff damage. And the SP3, obviously, it just does a crap ton of damage because it's a literal god bomb. Alright, so let's get into the utility side of things and why I love Gorr. And there's really only one main utility, but that main utility is absolutely ridiculous, and it's the fact that you can have 100% auto block counter from the first nanosecond of a fight to the end of the fight, and it's because of his undermine. Now this is important to have the sig ability for this to work, but even at low sig it still is really good. And the way you have to do this is just get a buff and then you triggered the undermine for a certain amount of seconds. I think it's 10 to 16 depending on the sig level. And then you're completely unblockable when they're trying to auto block. This is a penny from the Battlegrounds long distance relationship meta. I know that's a while ago, but I was just looking through the clips I had of Gorr and trying to see what I thought would be nice to show off, and this was one of them. So I'm just gonna kill this penny. That could have been a lot quicker. I held my SP3 a lot longer than I should have. But she's beyond dead here. There was so much overkill. I definitely should have thrown my SP3 earlier. And his Battlegrounds damage is really good. So say that was 10 seconds quicker, 60 seconds Battlegrounds fight, that's amazing. It's consistent 60 seconds too. It's almost never less, never more. That's great. Like, you just drop the SP3 nuke and then they're done, usually. It's very rare for that not to happen. So this is a Nimrod in Battlegrounds. And Nimrod is incredibly tanky. Like, it's hard to take a Nimrod down quickly, like, unless you're Gallon or Hulkling. Those are, like, some of the only really quick Nimrod killers, and I guess Tigra, because Tigra's Tigra, and she completely cheeses his special attacks and stuff. So I'm going to see how well Gorr can kill this Nimrod, and how quick he can do it. And note, I do of course have these weaknesses on me as well, because of the long distance relationship meta, so it is a little bit frustrating to get rid of them. And I'm stacking a bunch of debuffs. Another really cool thing about Gorr is that even though they're he's bleed and poison immune, it's okay. We have the degen. And that just means that there's not as many matchups he's as limited to. For instance, using Sunspot against Incinerate immune isn't going to be as good a time as using him versus non-Incinerate immune. Using Idoom against Shock immune is almost... It's a horrible fight. You don't want to do that. Gorr is versatile because he has the degens that still fuel his damage. And it's okay. As long as there's no Purify, it still is great. So this fight is just showing that he's an amazing Warlock counter. And Warlock is honestly... I hate fighting this guy so much. And of course there's going to be Galen and Hulkling, but it's okay because they're like top 5 Cosmics, so not everyone has to be Galen and Hulkling level. Now the reason Gorr is absolutely ridiculous for Warlock is because you're not getting infected the entire fight. The way Warlock's infection works is that the more unique buffs you have, or maybe it's just buffs, I don't remember if it's unique or not, the shorter the infection is. And eventually, because Gorr has so many buffs, it completely never happens. And I know this is a 5-star Warlock, but I'm just showing you this fight so that you know how it works. You don't have to focus on the time or anything. So, in conclusion, reasons I love Gorr: there are a ridiculous amount of rotations he has. His damage is almost impossible to prevent. It's just Nullify, which you don't want to use him against Mystics anyway, and Purify. And those aren't things that you would normally use Gorr for anyway, so it's perfectly fine. He is an absolute tech destroyer. His Undermine is super good utility. The amount of buffs he has is really important for some matches, like this Warlock here. He has damage over time for damage, he has massive special attacks for damage, he has so many different ways to deal massive damage, and he's my favorite MCU villain, and I just love this guy in the movie so much. The movie wasn't great, but if anything about it was Gorr. Gorr was my favorite part of that movie by far. He was phenomenal, and I just love the way they implemented him into the game. He looks so cool, he's so fun to play for me, and that's why I think Gorr is underrated.